So we will be discussing how to graph linear equations. Very important skill, but it's not something that we are specifically learning in the curriculum. The curriculum assumes that you guys already know how to do it. And in my experience of teaching ninth grade the past 3 years, there are many students that come to ninth grade not knowing how to graph linear equations. So that's why I'm going to teach it to you because I imagine you have the same thing. So here's the steps printed on your note sheet. So again, you can't say I didn't know what to do as an excuse for why you're not doing anything tomorrow. All right, the steps are right here. First, you're going to write the equation in slope-intercept form. What's the formula for slope-intercept form? So everyone write that in. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Write that in the same spot that I put it in. All right, so like in number 1, is the equation already in slope-intercept form? Yes, does it look like y equals mx plus b? So the perks of slope-intercept form is that you can clearly see the slope and you can clearly see the y-intercept. So m is slope, write this somewhere. I don't know where you want to write this. But m is slope and b is your y-intercept. So then what's the slope in number 1? It's not negative at -1. So your slope, your m, is the number that's in front of the x. So what's the number if it's not written? It's a 1, and in this one, it happens to be negative. It's negative. What's the y-intercept? Good. So then you guys take about 30 seconds and on your paper, identify the slope and y-intercept of 2 and 3. Don't call them out. But first, see if you can identify the slope and y-intercept in 2 and 3. All right, so class, all at the same time. What is the slope in number 2? Not all at the same time. So thank you. Allison or Julie? Thank you, everyone. Now class, all at the same time. What's the y-intercept of number 2? -1 is correct. Because normally in the equation, it's plus b. So if it's minus, that means they must have plugged in a -1 or a -1. All right, class, all at the same time. What's the slope in number 3? Good. 2/5, 2/5. And what's the y-intercept in number 3? 2. So good. In these other ones, like 4 through 6, are those in slope-intercept form? Do they look like y equals mx plus b? Yeah. So then you could clearly identify the m and the b in those ones too. What about in 8 through 9? Are they in slope-intercept form? Oh, for the most part, they are. 8 definitely is. What's the slope in 8? What's my y-intercept? 0, because it's not written at all. It's, so your y-intercept is whatever constant is there. And since it's not written at all, it must be 0. Because you usually don't write plus 0, do you? So it's 0 first. Now in 7, it's like a little bit different than normal slope-intercept form. How can I make it look like slope-intercept form? Split the 2 first. Because I still have an x term and I still have a constant, don't I? So I can still see my slope and my y-intercept. So if I write it like this though, maybe you'll recognize it better. But it's the same thing, right? Isn't the 5x still positive? Isn't the 3 still negative? Yes. So identify your x. Same with this one. Just flip the order. And now it's in slope-intercept form. The sign that's in front of each term. Okay. Let's look on the back, see if those are in slope-intercept form. So 10 through 17. So all the problems on the back, are any of them in slope-intercept form? What form are they in? Can you remember? Or you can tell me the formula for what form these are actually in? Okay. The question was, what form are these equations in? And I asked if I gave you the formula for what form these equations are in, and no one said anything. So there's the formula. Ax plus by equals c. You know what that form is called? All right, so this is standard form. So it's another common way that linear equations are written. But unlike slope-intercept form, you can't clearly see the slope and y-intercept. Yeah, guys, when I tell you like go in 5 minutes, or if I say go after this person, all right. But standard form can't clearly see the slope and y-intercept. So I'm gonna want to rearrange it to slope-intercept form. In slope-intercept form, what's by itself? No, it's completely by itself. The y. So if I could just rearrange these equations into slope-intercept form, I can do that by isolating the y. And then I can clearly see my slope. So just like before, except for instead of solving specifically for an x or a y, I'm just rewriting because I can't solve for this. I don't know what happened. So I want to still isolate the y, still follow the same steps. Get rid of what's farther from the y. So how would I eliminate the x? Whatever you do on one side, do to the other side. So that cancels there. I have 3y equal to, are these like terms? Do they both have x's? Are they both single numbers? No, so they're not like terms. So I can't combine them, but I'm gonna rewrite them so that the x term is first. So I'm just gonna put it as negative x minus 3. That way it looks more like our slope-intercept form. Everyone with me so far? Okay. basically slope-intercept form, you can clearly see slope and y-intercept, so that's why we're rearranging. Follow the same step as when you're isolating a variable. Opposite of multiplying 3 is whatever you do on one side. And then y equals, and this is how I taught you in class, like in algebra. If it's easier for you to see it like this, where you're dividing it from each term separately, that's the same thing. So maybe that's easier for you to see it. Is slope allowed to be a fraction? Yes, as long as it's a fully simplified fraction. So can I simplify negative 1/3 further? No, it's fully simplified already. Only one goes into both. Over here, simplify that. What's negative 3 divided by 3? Negative 1. Is it in slope-intercept form now? So now identify your slope and your y-intercept. What's your slope? And what's my y-intercept? Negative 1. Questions on that process? All right, let's do one more rearranging one, and then we'll get actually back into the set. Oh, sorry, we're still copying. We'll look at 13 since it's right here. So is 13 in slope-intercept form? No. No, so don't make the mistake that I see a lot of students make, and they say that the slope is 4, just because that's in front of the x. You want to get the y by itself so that it can be in slope-intercept form. What's farther from the y? The 4x. So keep like the terms together. Only like separate the 3 later because it's connected to the y. So how can I make the 4x move? Whatever you do on one side, so that cancels. I have 3y equals, are these like terms? The 21 and the negative 4x. So don't combine them. Do write the x term first, so that it looks more like the winner. After this. All right, questions on what I just did? All I did was move it so that this is first. Good. This is still positive, this is still negative. Now, how can I get the y fully by itself? By whatever you do on one side, and make sure you do it for both terms. Is slope allowed to be a fraction? As long as it's fully simplified. Can I simplify negative 4/3 further? No, just treat it like that. What about 21/3? What does that simplify to? 7. And now you can clearly see the slope and the y-intercept. So questions on that part of the example? All right, learning lots of skills today. So Mia, you can go now if you want. So now we're going to go back to the steps. So I know we haven't fully solved any of these problems, but I'm going to go back to the front. FYI, the slope was negative 4/3 and the y-intercept was 7. All right, but back to the front. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Step 2, graph the y-intercept first. That's always where you're going to have to start. Even if you're using like a graphing calculator, I know on your test there's going to be like graphing questions, and it wants you to put your y-intercept first. So be able to identify your y-intercept And that's what you'll plot first. So in number 1, we said the y-intercept was 5. So that means on your y-axis, which is that the horizontal one or the vertical one? Good. Y to the side. Think of it that way. X to the left. But the origin would be here. That's 0, 0. We're not plotting that. We need to put a point where y is 5. Would that be above the origin or below it? So from the origin, count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I always have students that count 0 first, like or something, like they'll count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Always count like after 0. That should be. And then, so you graph your y-intercept, and then you use the slope to create more points. Remember that slope is rise over run. So it is normally a fraction. What's my rise then? And what's my run? So your run should always be positive. Top is your rise, bottom is your run. If there's a negative, make sure the negative's on the top. That way you know if you go up or down. Your run, you'll always go to the right. So from your y-intercept, since my rise is negative, do I go up or down? Down 1, and then my run is 1. So to the right. Down 1 to the right. Down 1 to the right. You're going to want to put at least a couple dots, so that way you can make as straight of a line as possible. All right, questions on that? All right, so make sure equations in slope-intercept form. Graph your y-intercept. Use your slope to graph more points, and then connect a line. All right, let's do 2 together, and then I'll have you try 3 on your own. What do I plot first on number 2? You do not plot your slope first. Your y-intercept, we think that is so above or below the origin. Good, it would be here. And then use your slope, your rise over run to find your next point. What's my rise over run? Over. So from your y-intercept, go down to the negative. 1, 2, 3. To the right 1. And again, you're going to want at least a few points. Can I go down 3 again to the right 1? No, it wouldn't be on the graph. So if you have to work backwards, you can. You would just have to do like the complete opposite. So if you're working backwards, go up 3 to the left 1. All right, and then you can like double check. You are going down. Then, all right, I'll give you a couple to try out. It's really hard for me to use it, so I'll do it from the computer. But the ones that you will try will be number 3. And then we'll do number 4. And number 8. So 4, 8, and 3. I'll write it here. 3, 4, and 8. I'm gonna give you a few minutes. So here's what your graph would have looked like for number 3.
because y-intercept is a positive 2, so that's above the origin at where y is 2, right here. And then use your slope to find the next point. This time the slope was a fraction, like the other ones were whole numbers, right? You had to know that the run was 1. This time the run is 5. So the 2 is positive, that means you go up 2. The run, you always go to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. You'll want at least 3 points to make a straight line. The more points you have, the more straight your line is. So if you ever have to work backwards from your y-intercept, you just do the complete opposite. You would go down 2 to the left 5. So questions on 3. All right, so then scrolling to 4 and 8. Oops, I went way too fast. Hold on. Okay, there we go. All right, so for the y-intercept was 3. And my rise over run is -1 over 4. So when it's negative, that means you go up or down. Down 1 this time, and then to the right by how many? 4. And then again, if I were to go down 1 to the right 4, it'd be off the graph, so I might have to work backwards. Going up 1 to the left 4. All right, and then number 8, that's the one that had the y-intercept of 0. So that would go through the origin here. And my rise over run, -4 over 1. So going down 4, because it's negative, and to the right 1. If you work backwards, you do the opposite. So questions on the ones I had you try. All right, this note sheet will be uploaded to Schoology in case you need more examples, but let's do at least one on the back. I know we're kind of running low on time. So on the back side, let's do 10, which we had to rearrange. All right, we did the rearranging together. You still graph it once it's in slope-intercept form. So where would my y-intercept be for this one? So put a dot where the -1 is on the y, that's 1 below the origin. And how do I plot my next point? What do I use to plot my next point? Good, you use your slope to plot your next point. And if you forget, the steps are on the front. So, down 1 and to the right. Down 1 to the right. And then draw a straight of a line. I'll draw a line, but hard on it. But use your dots. I know, like on your Unit 2 test, you will have to graph them digitally. You have to follow the steps. Like you have to graph your y-intercept and then a point after the slope. So like use your slope to find the next point. You click here, and draw the line for you. Okay, we'll practice that a different day digitally. But like those are the main steps. Make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Plot your y-intercept. Use your slope to plot your next point. Questions there? All right, I want you to try 12 from start to finish. I'll project it before you guys leave, so start on back up before then. And also I'll upload the answer key to Schoology for the notes. I won't even provide you the practice key until I come back, so it won't be. Do your best, use your notes, watch the video. All right, and then for time purposes, I know that wasn't enough time to do 12 on your own, but here's the solution. First, you need to rearrange it into slope-intercept form, get the y by itself. It has to be completely by itself, like no negative next to it. Here's how you get rid of the negative if you need to. And now that it's in slope-intercept form, you plot your y-intercept, which is 3. Use your rise over run, your slope, to plot the next point. So going up 5 to the right 1 on this one. You need to work backwards, do the complete opposite. Questions about anything? All right. Some of you I'll see later today. The rest of you I'll see Wednesday. So there's always stuff for you to do. If you're ever unsure, look at school leave. I'll always leave stuff for you.